What's good, man? What's happening? What's really going on? It's the Clenz coming at you yet again with another rewarding, probably insightful, and a little bit out of the ordinary piece of information that can serve as the building blocks to your success. This conversation, man, has just really been, I guess, on the tip of my tongue as of lately, with a lot of, I guess, world events going on, from North Korea to the racial tensions that was happening to all of the stuff that was occurring. I felt compelled to connect some of the dots that I was seeing personally. And, this conversation may not be for everybody because, that's the thing about something like the occult or occult knowledge is that, the occult is something that really can't be measured or defined through clinical methods. Cannot be observed. It's elusive. That leads into mysticism. And before I even begin, I want to, remind everybody the role that mysticism played in the shaping of our country, of American society, of many of the conveniences we enjoy in our life. And one of the most powerful mystical arts that has been adopted, in my opinion, has been the media. And, if you look into the media, you will find that, several of the individuals that were responsible for laying the foundations for Hollywood were heavily involved in occult arts and the things that they were interested in, average people would look down upon and pretty much be disgusted. But many of the pioneers of Hollywood, whether they were actors or entertainers or agents or PRs or, involved with theater or whatever, idolized these people that were practicing, you could consider dark occult practices, okay? But that's, there's, at the end of the day, there's a lot of room to believe that, media projects are essentially symbolic representations of mythical meanings. Okay, the characters are mythical and they convey a meaning. And it's designed to illustrate present times along with times that are soon to come. So, what are we talking about here? We're talking about it. What is it, right? This fucking clown, this energy that's going on right now. I was compelled to study more about it because I remember watching the original as a kid. So I looked into it again, and it's just blowing up right now, and the movie It in the box office, it's making all this money. People were saying they loved it, they blah, blah, blah. And, I look at it as I look most of media is deep suggestive programming. And, this programming is conveying the illusion of evil and how to overcome this fear in times of chaos. And it's like a modern mythological musical. And ever since the eclipse, even before the eclipse, I started to really notice a lot of uncertainty and global unrest, from North Korea to what was happening in Charlottesville. People were angry, frustrated, disgusted. Division was at an all-time high, chaos, everything. And not so much chaos in what is conveyed on TV, maybe in some areas, but, overall it was just confusion and chaos in the mind of like, what the fuck is going on? And then shortly, around the time that the eclipse took place, Harvey hit, started to peak around the 25th of August. This caused a sense of unity shortly after a time of division and tension towards other cultures and people in America and so forth and so on. In addition to this, there was an earthquake in Mexico, huge earthquake. I think about 8.1 the night before it was released. I think on September 8th or something. Huge ethnic cleansing going on in India by the hands of Buddhist vigilantes and different military around that area, just wiping out the majority Muslims. Tens and thousands are being slaughtered, from women, children. Hundreds and thousands of them are fleeing. It's, and of course, Irma is something that we're presently experiencing. And, I also observed all of this occurring around the eclipse, and I was like, well, I can never say that, the eclipse is directly responsible for any of these things, but I will say that it's interesting when you look into what an eclipse is on the occult side of things. Okay, so it's like, if you look into what it signifies, it's essentially a change. It could be a dangerous change. It could be coming together of two, like a marriage. It could be something as if the moon is consuming the sun and coming together. The moon is eating it. But it's regardless, it's a change. And, when you look into the moon, when the moon gets in the way of the sun, it's essentially, the moon is representing fear or illusion or anxiety. And, when you imagine the cosmos in a form of hierarchy, imagine a cosmic hierarchy. The sun is the king of the court, the royal court, and the moon is more of like another member, a prince or a joker, which really are both jacks in a sense, and both of which can be considered tricksters. Even though they're different cards in the deck, they have similar characteristics. And when this takes place, the eclipse, it's like we're experiencing a brief change in the cosmic order, a brief period of entertainment, almost in the form of chaos. And that's why we're looking into the movie It, because the It is obviously a clown, which is obviously a joker, which is obviously a jack, a jester type of energy that is basically everybody's going crazy for. But when I started to look into It, I was connecting it even further on how Stephen King is so obviously educated on occult and mythological history, because the mythological meaning of It is I truly feel connected to the Dogon, Hindu, other creation stories. Because in the Dogon story especially, it talks about the creator making love to Earth and wasn't able to breed the supreme being as intended. And instead it created a androgynous male entity known as the jackal. Okay, and this jackal was pretty much believed to be the first mortal, but it was like a bastard. It was unfortunately it was referred to as a mistake. It was considered something that was disconnected from the divine source, and just was angry and rained destruction upon the environment. Okay, and it was a failed experiment. Now the jackal is the dog, the wolf, and it's seen as a critical character in pretty much most of the world's major myths and religious circles. Now, of course, when you look into the jackal is connected to the jack, which eventually we find that it was evolved into a joker type of entity around, I think, in the 20th century when they created the Joker card in the deck, but even earlier in the 15th century when there was a character known as Jack Pudding, which was a clown. And basically it was just a regular fucking clown, but they called him Jack Pudding. Now the idea of a joke, all right, again, we're all connecting this, how it's about entertainment. And now entertainment is not real. It's about overcoming whatever is in front of you, and for the most part, it's not real. And that's what a joke is. It's not to be taken seriously. When you look into the origin of the word joke, you will find that it means it's not real, it's not to be taken seriously. So obviously, the clown, the joker, it, whatever it is you're afraid of, is not supposed to be taken seriously either. But a joker can be taken seriously. the entertainment, the media can be taken seriously if all it does is perpetuate chaos and feeds off of people's fears, just as the character in It does, where, you know, obviously the clown, the character in this movie, It, can only gain power from people's fears. As soon as you face it, it's powerless. Now, without fear, evil would cease to exist. Fear has the power to keep a soul off-centered, opening it up to potentially creating the evils that it fears most, all right? And not all fears can be prevented, right? That's the truth, but many are self-made and also can be self-resolved. Let's see. And lastly, tying it all together to this basic theme of good versus evil, and that looking into the power within yourself and bringing out the power, looking fearlessly into what it is you're afraid of, and applying it, and being the Messiah within this theme. How it's perpetuated in It is about the turtle. They don't talk about it much in the remake, but in the original, it was a more significant character, and the turtle is connected obviously to the world turtle, which is seen pretty much in Asian mythological origin stories, Native American origin stories, along with Hindu origin stories. And there's always either been the turtle, the serpent, or the elephant, which is responsible for everything, which is the sole creator, and actually is the enemy of this clown, this jackal, this joker, this jester, which tries to essentially overthrow the kingdom of the divine source. But again, it can't be taken seriously unless it perpetuates this chaos, this fear, this confusion, right? And there's so much going on right now that it's like, it's so understandable to feel that way. But it's the overused theme of good versus evil again and again and again. But this movie, along with much of the messages in Hollywood, explain that the truth about evil, and more importantly, its weakness, that anything or anyone that you fear has power over you. Anything that you worry about, anything that you even focus on has power over you. But if it's channeled in a way where what you focus on, you give power to, and it gives power to you back, then it's productive. So be careful what it is that you put your energy into, what you worry about, what you focus on. That's what makes the media so powerful, and how it's connected to all of what I talked about in the origin of mysticism in America, and how it still is perpetuated to this day.